Dude, I hit the record button. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got Mike Pryor on the show today. Mikey, what's up, my man?
How's it going? How's it going?
All good, dude. Finally, we made it happen. How long have we
Yeah.
been talking about having a conversation to put on the internet, the two of us?
Uh, I don't know. Maybe since you started YouTubing, but you're not.
Dude,
You're not really vlogging anymore, right? Now it's more
but
interview
you see,
stuff.
that's the thing. Like, my channel went through sort of like an evolution, right? Because the
Yeah.
idea at the very beginning was always to tell a story, what it's like to be a designer in the field of
Mhm.
architecture or visualization.
Yeah.
And so I went through all these stages. Do I want to talk about my life? Do I want to talk about my work? Do I want to talk about. And the only thing that stuck that was really successful was telling stories from others people's life, obviously, because they're a lot more interesting than mine,
Yeah.
uh, and talk about the business side of design.
Yeah.
However, these are split because the business side of design, it's more the older people that watch those videos. The stories about other designers, it's more the younger people. And I guess it makes sense because there is a whole bunch of young people out there that need to hear stories to sort of like finding inspiration to walk their own path and to find their own way in the field of design.
I guess
And
there's not much to really vlog about uh, right now, anyway, unless you want to show your living room every
that's
day,
that's also a very good point, yes.
which I'm still convinced it's a fake background. I'm pretty sure that's a Zoom
It's
background.
not a fake background, I'll show you. These are
I
like
think I think
real
you do it to
pillows.
keep. It's so you can keep your room dirty. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah,
It's real. It's real.
yeah.
How you
It's
doing,
good.
dude?
Doing all right. Doing.
Thanks
It
a
is
lot
what it
for
is.
being up so late because what time is it in Portland now?
It's only 10 p.m. This isn't. It's not late. Not that
But
late.
you're not really in Portland, right? You're
No, I
outside.
am. I'm in
Oh, you
Portland.
are
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm
Because
living in Portland. Yeah.
you were okay. Let's give a little bit of a background to people because we're having this conversation. They might not know why we're talking. You work for Nike, probably
Yeah.
the best company on the planet, and I say that because I so want to work for them myself. I'm a big Nike fanboy. Where is the company located?
In Beaverton, Oregon. It's probably like 15-minute, 20-minute drive from where
All
I'm
right,
living.
but it's more
Yeah.
convenient for you to live in Portland because there might be more
Yeah.
going on, right?
Beaverton's Beaverton's like more rural area, so it's like and a large amount of it is like Nike buildings and campus. So um, yeah, but we wanted to like live in the city, so it's pretty easy to get there except for the traffic. So um, there's a lot of influx of people here, and the roads don't really keep up with it. So um, we just have to, a 15-minute drive can end up being like an hour and a half sometimes, depending. Um, Especially if you consider you have like here in the kind of Portland area, you have Nike, Adidas also has a headquarters here.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, Intel's headquarters is here. So
Because
if you,
Adi Dassler was born in Oregon.
yeah, well, yeah, but you have those three and then multiple other like major companies all trying to go to work and leave work the same time on like the
Yeah,
same 4-lane highway.
yeah.
Doesn't really look well, especially when you consider, I think on Nike's campus there's like 14, I forget the number, like 14,000 employees at Nike here. So if you imagine 14,000 people trying to leave at 5 p.m., it's
You can
it's
you
not.
cannot even fight. You cannot even fight in traffic because it's like, hey, you asshole! Oh, sorry, that's Jamie from marketing. Hey, man,
Right,
what's up?
right. Have to be on your best behavior. But yeah, it's good. It's
Mike,
definitely a
listen,
great place to work.
I've been dying to tell your story because you're an architect that has done everything an architect could dream of doing as an architect, but then you ended up working in the field of like sneaker design. Do you want to help me a little bit telling your story? Like, what were the stages that you had to go through? And let's try and talk about all the cool stuff that you have done on this path, because you're the maker of Pufferfish, you founded Design Morphine. You've had a lot of like achievements under your belt. Do you want to help me putting everything on a timeline for those who are listening from home?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like the first of all, like none of it was like planned. Like I don't know, I wasn't trying to get to footwear design. Like it's like happily where I ended up, but there was never like this goal like I'm going to get to there. I mean, it really started like, because I went to architecture school in New York, and then I was thinking about doing masters, but then actually I got contacted by Jorge, who we both know, to teach some work.
I remember you and I having a conversation about masters.
Yeah. And then I Jorge from the AA in Paris, the visiting school, he invited me to do a workshop there. And then like from there, it really kind of just like spiraled out of control in a good way. It was just like kind of learning and workshops, and then doing workshops with you, with 3D Dreaming back in the day, and with Mateusz and Jan and all these people, and kind of like just building this network.
The good old
and I
days.
feel like but I feel like this kind of network, like if you think about all the people that we used to interact with and still do interact with, like all these people are growing up into these bigger and more serious roles. And I feel like a lot of us kind of like ping off each other and help each other.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of sharing, exchange there. And, I was actually, into like Grasshopper and parametric design, computational design, pretty much after college. Like I didn't really do that in school. It was something I was interested in. I always saw it, but it just wasn't my priority in school, because it wasn't necessarily at that time. That was like 2006 to 2011. Grasshopper was out, but it was like just starting to get into like master's colleges towards like 2010, 2011. So there wasn't like the abundance of resources that there is now. Like now you can just go on Grasshopper Forum and like search anything and you can find the answer. Like there was no like forum or good book or anything like that, So again, it was like
you're one of those who actually started this whole like knowledge base online, because I remember we were in Bratislava, you and I. First of all, for those who are listening who don't know me, because it's more likely that they know you.
I wouldn't say that.
Nah,
Yeah,
in your field, man, you're a rock star. I mean, Pufferfish has been downloaded, what, 100,000 times?
Almost 100,000, yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't think that all the videos, my videos combined, have 100,000 views.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that, you and I, we've been knowing each other for, I was thinking about it yesterday. I guess now it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I remember,
something like that, yeah.
I remember I was doing my summer job in Norway when you and I started to talk on the 3D Dreaming Facebook page. And you started, to comment on the posts that I was making.
Oh, yeah, actually, how that happened, actually, I remember is, and this happens to me a lot, and I'll stress the importance to, like, anyone watching this, like, how important it is to, like, get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
I think I even read from people, it's one time he did, like, an interview or something like that, and I was reading, he was saying something about, like, how he treats Instagram. Like, he doesn't really look at the comments or care what people think. He does what he loves, and he like basically like posts it and then like puts the phone away. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it's for himself, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of like the same way because like like pufferfish for instance, like I don't charge for that. Like no one pays me for that. Like or the things I do on that. It's like if you just do the things that you like to do, like that passion shows. Like if you're not doing it to try to impress anyone else or to
Yeah.
like gain some specific goal, the work is really like it's more true to you. And people are gonna hate it. People are gonna love it. It doesn't matter. Like like what matters is that like you like it. So anyway, the reason I say that is because the reason we started talking is because one, you had 3D dreaming already, and then one day I go on Facebook and I saw that you had put one of my pictures as the logo of 3D Dreaming, and then you messaged me and you were like, "I like your picture so much, I'm using it as the logo," and that's how we did it. And that's like a thing that's happened to me a lot. Even with Nike, like they reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them, right? And it's because of they saw something, or
Yeah.
it was on Instagram, whatever. But I wasn't trying to reach them. Um, and again, of course, it's also a bit of luck and the right person looking at the right time. So it's not to say like, oh, I'm
Yeah, but
amazing, because it's
luck
not
doesn't
that at all.
happen unless you put your work out there. You know
That's
what
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying. Like you just have to like better your chances,
Yeah.
right? Like put your stuff out in multiple ways, in multiple platforms. Um, and just don't be like shy about it. Like that's the one thing I can't stress enough is like I've had haters. You've had haters. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of thing that like makes people like less wanting to put their stuff out there. But you'll never please anyone. Like
Yeah.
even if like think about your favorite musician in the whole world, your favorite athlete in the whole world, your favorite actor in the whole world, whatever, even your favorite artist, whether it's Beeple or something, like go on their Instagram, you'll see tons of hate,
Yeah,
tons of it,
absolutely.
tons of it. But it doesn't matter. Like they're successful because they just keep going and they ignore it. So
You're 100% correct. I remember yesterday I was having a conversation about Travis Scott doing this concert over on Fortnite
yeah,
and having
yeah,
like 27 million people watching it.
with
And
his
I've had,
Nikes on.
yeah, and I've had a conversation with like other designers, to say, did you see how successful that was? Because he's so good at what he does. He sees things that other people don't see. And people were like talking about his music, the fact that, hip hop as it is, it's really like shit and it's not real music. And I was thinking to myself, sometimes people really are victims of their own thinking schemes, right?
Yeah.
Because they limit themselves with the knowledge that they have and they're not able to look past stereotypes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite. I mean, that he's not my favorite kind of like rapper, but it's like every minute you spend like bothering someone else's career or goal or what they're doing, it's just like they're spending all their time getting better, and you're spending half your time like trying to bring them down, and
Yeah.
so that's like half of your time that you're not using to make yourself better,
Yeah, it's true.
because like
But I,
no one's in competition with each other, like like his relevance, or even in like computational design, like someone else's relevance in computational design doesn't make my relevance less or
less,
more.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's not like we're all on a scale and it's like one goes up, one goes down. Like everyone has their own thing, and like so if someone does something awesome, like cool, it's awesome, like, but doesn't mean that you went down. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like everyone, and that's what social media does. It kind of like it puts you in, and we've all thought that way too. Like it puts you in this mindset that you're on like a scale, like system with other people. Yeah.
Dude, let me ask you, like, when we started working together, because we also worked together, we had workshops together, we were
Yeah.
organizing them, and you were one of the instructors. This has unfolded sort of like it has produced consequences for you that have set you on a path to become your own boss, to create your own company parallel to whatever it is that you're doing at the moment. Do you mind talking a little bit about the importance of like jumping on opportunities and doing stuff so
Sure.
to raise your own personal value?
Yeah. So Design Morphine, like that's the workshop and the design organization. You can find it on Instagram at Design Morphine.
I pulled up one of your pictures so that people can see it.
Yeah. But so that was started actually by Sveti and my wife Pavlina, and I came in like a year later um, as an equal partner. So there's three of us, and we work with like just many talented people. I mean, you had, for instance, like you had Vamsi on here the other day. So like we work with like many people. You've done workshops with us as well.
Yeah.
And for me, like the importance of that is like we charge money because we have people that are doing work and they should get paid for those service. But on my end, like the money isn't important from that. It's not, as you know, and anyone else that knows that does workshops, it's not $1 million idea.
Yeah.
It's if you're trying to focus on workshops as your primary like source of income, you're probably starving. But the importance of it is that like it keeps you in the loop of like what's new, what's going on.
Yeah.
And it also keeps you in a network, and that network is so important. Like just think about, I just think about all the people we've interacted with, like Mateusz, Aldo. Like if you think about all these people, like swapping ideas, joining each other's stuff, going to this person's thing, going to this person's thing, like all those people are the ones that are, at these important, like higher like levels there now. Yeah, so it's just sharing that knowledge is super important. And then the other satisfaction out of it for me is like I feel like it lets people, it's like a service that we provide that lets people grow in like it's not expensive if you think about how expensive like schools, like colleges are. And it's not so time consuming, right? Like the longest one is a week, if that. But all these things, so on the student end, you learn like a lot of these valuable skills. And like so many of our students, like almost immediately after a workshop, they'll get like these bigger opportunities. Like we've had students join a workshop and then they'll do some work with the skills they learned and they end up in like Milan Design Week, like as a feature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like from like not knowing anything to getting that satisfaction. And I think that's why we also have a lot of repeat students. Like we have so many students that just keep coming to multiple workshops. Like it's not always new. And then on the
let me put this into perspective. I remember one of the first workshops that you and I did in Bratislava. We were sitting in the classroom and we were getting messages from people in California with your definitions open, doing the exercises that you were putting on Formulark. You still have that blog?
It's still, I never took it down, but I haven't updated it in years.
We had classes of people graduating with your work. We had people from Zaha Hadid working with your definitions, grasshopper definitions. I mean, the impact that your work has had, I think this is unprecedented. And, like, now you're behind the curtain, so to say. You manage the infrastructure, which is also something that I would like you to expand a little bit on. But I think that, I always say in my videos that one person can make the difference. I'm very proud of the things that you have done when you started to go out there on your own, because you really were able to take the essence of what we were trying to do with 3D Dreaming, the workshops that we were organizing, and you were able to do it better.
Yeah. Well, I think like, well, thanks for saying that, but like I think like it's really it's a bit more like a community effort, I would say. Like it takes more than one person. It takes like a team, and not even just our team. Like we also collaborate with Aldo's group, Nomana. We collaborate now. We're collaborating with like the Rat Lab from India. So it's like these organizations kind of collaborating together for like the greater kind of educational purpose, like to kind of support each other, and it's that community, and that's one thing I like about Grasshopper and McNeil and Rhino, because like their forum also is like kind of not like any other forum I've ever been to. It's just like the attitude of the forum, like and just these people that are helping, just like elevates everyone. And it's like that's the kind of, for me, like I don't want to like be a sole superstar famous, like I want everyone to like to grow. And that's what I was going to say about the previous point, is like for the workshops and stuff, like on our end, the other satisfying thing for me is that like giving some people, like through our name, giving people that like chance to have their opportunity,
Yes.
like we have people like Vampsy or Eric or Nicholas Turchi, like we have these people who like they actually they came into our workshops as students, and it really like helped them to like push themselves, and now they all have like their own ventures, and they still do stuff with us, but they have their own adventures, they have their own organizations, they have their own things, right? So it really helped them, like, they were talented already, but like to get them like exposure, because exposure is, it's hard to get, right? But I don't believe in free exposure, because that's bullshit. But just using the idea is to have this thing, and I think we were trying to do that with 3D Dreaming as well. It's like to have a thing that's not necessarily called someone's name or something, this kind of umbrella that anyone can operate under, and kind of, get themselves to that next level that they honestly deserve, because I feel like before that, and again, it's not just our company, it's like, at a similar time, like all these kind of companies, organizations started emerging. And I just say the ones that I think offhand, like also like Nomena or whatever, like, like we all kind of started emerging in different ways at a similar time. And these kind of umbrellas, they just really help get people that you wouldn't necessarily have access to, because before that, you were only seeing like the top people from like these master's degree programs, who are also amazing, right? But there are people that are worth learning from and seeing their work, that aren't necessarily like in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me specify a little point, because you said you don't believe in free exposure, and I agree 100%. But let's make sure that people get it, because for you to create your plugins, or for you to work on Design Morphine, I am pretty sure that the amount of work that you had to put versus the payout that you got out of all these activities, the monetary payout, was very unbalanced, right? You had to put a lot more work and maybe earn a lot less money doing these things. But what this has generated in turn is, attaching a certain degree of prestige to your name and to the work that you were doing.
Well, that's like free exposure.
Yes.
What I'm talking about is like free exposure at someone else's expense.
Yeah.
Like if it's yourself and it's like, because I treat that stuff like, especially like pufferfish, like it's like a hobby to me. It's more like pufferfish. When I first started it, I knew nothing about scripting, right? And I just like I tried to learn scripting a few times, the kind of way that they tell you should learn it. Read this book, watch this boring ass 10-hour tutorial. It's true. And for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to do two things. One is like I have a small but amazing support system of people that already knew this stuff, like David Stashik and Mateusz. And two, like I'll learn this better if like I make something, right? Like so, my whole goal is like, okay, here's the things I want to make. Now this is how I'm going to learn by making them, and it really shot my, because if you're just trying to learn to do these things arbitrarily, it's hard. It's because you don't really know what you need and what you don't need. But when you map it out and you know what you want to make, it's the same thing with making a grasshopper definition, which is like, like if you actually write down what you want to do, like it's easier to solve it than not having a problem to solve, because then it's just, there's too much information. So you end up doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. You don't really learn, what you're interested in. So for me, if anything, Pufferfish was kind of selfishly a way for me to learn scripting, but also like I use the tool. They're tools I want to use, and I just make them. But then I figured, well, if I make them, maybe someone else will want to use them, so I'll just put them on. Like again, like I'm not making it to make money, or like to impress anyone. I'm making it like to learn, and because it's the way I want to work and the things I want to use.
Yeah.
And just so happens that a lot of people wanted to work this way as well. But it wasn't the goal. Like, so again, like to what we started talking about in the very beginning of the conversation, like just doing things for your own like self growth, and putting it out there can get you a lot more than just like, doing something just to impress someone.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing something to impress you, it's not my work. It's going to look like what you like, like so you lose a bit of your identity, I think, in the work. So, and it's a common thing that happens in a lot of schools too. Like, we've all seen it in the architecture schools, like how, a lot of students, in some cases, like the work looks like the professor's work.
Yes,
right? It's
100%.
Like you're trying to please, and fair enough, right? Like that's how you're going to get your grade. But you're trying to please that person through the aesthetics they like, rather than please yourself through your own self-interest and have someone else like it.
But it's very difficult to let students understand this concept, because I went to school with Chris Precht. Everybody know Chris. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an amazing designer. But that was the thing about Chris, that Chris would go through a design review with the teacher saying, oh, this is not good, this doesn't work, oh, this is shit. And Chris would be like, whatever, loser.
Like, no, I mean, it's true. I mean, I actually had a professor tell me once that it was something like, I really like your work, even though you don't give a shit about what I say, because I was not listening to what they you don't have to. I mean, I don't want to say you don't have to and then have a bunch of students fail their classes, but like it is possible to have your own attitude about things, and these people's opinions aren't what's going to make or break you. But on the other hand, could mean you're great at that point. I don't know. It's a tough line to walk.
Yeah, I know.
But like you can look at these people and you can tell like if you look at Chris's work, like you can tell like that's him and his wife. Like you can tell that that's them. You know, like they're not trying to be what they're not,
Anybody else,
and they're
yeah.
not trying to be someone else or look like someone else's work.
I feel the same about the stuff that you make using Grasshopper. Like if I see something, I instantly say, "This is Mike's work." And if it's somebody copying you, you can really tell they're using either pufferfish or something that was made by you. You know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have told me that. Like, even actually recently, like I was talking with Arturo Tedeschi. How do you say his last name?
Tedeschi.
You're Italian. Yeah. So, I was talking with him and he told me the same thing. He's like, when I go through Instagram, without even seeing the name, I know which one is yours.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, again, like, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that hate it or don't like it or just disregard it or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. As long as I like it and I have my own visualization style, which is not a typical kind of style. Even when I make these images, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty ugly, but I kind of like it. So, I don't try to make everything like perfect and beautiful all the time. Like it's just, I like to, like those things I post on Instagram. It just is what it is, it's just the result of something I tried.
Yeah.
Not all the time with so much thought. It's just like, well, what happens if I put this and this and this? It doesn't need to be so scientific because again, that's not my job. Like, it's not like, it's not like at work where I have to like solve real problems like that. This is just like, you can have fun, and by going really far out there and abstract and weird, you can get new ideas and then dilute those kind of like back to reality in like a real way, even though it might not look the same, but you learn techniques. Even I'm sure like when you do these kind of render challenges and like these weird experimental things, like, maybe in this thing that like some rendering you did won't be useful anywhere else, but maybe you learned like a really cool lighting technique.
Yes, absolutely.
Or an option or a setting that you're like, yeah, that will definitely work next time I have to do like a skylight or something, like so.
100%. And I think that, like sometimes I get a little bit disappointed when people get in touch with me for these challenges and they tell me things like, oh, I made a rendering a year ago. It would really fit this challenge. Can I hand in that one? And I'm like, dude, the point of me doing these challenges is to give you a chance for you to push yourself to do something more. How do you want to call yourself a designer if there isn't such an attitude inside of you? You know what I mean?
Or at least don't say you did it a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Be smart about it. It's like, you want to scam me? I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, let me transition a little bit into what I consider probably the most important part of this conversation. Your mutation, I don't know if that's the proper word, into sneaker designer. How did that happen? I want to touch on the emotional side of like quitting architecture for doing something else.
Yeah, so technically, I'm not what Nike considers because there is positions that are designer. I'm a computational designer who sits in innovation. I can't really say much about what that means so much or what we do, but just to clarify, like there are designers, and then I'm a computational designer who is part of the footwear in any company is, each product is a team of people. It's not just one person.
Yes.
So it's like that part of the team as a
So
computational designer.
probably might be better to reframe the question as how did you end up working for a company that doesn't do architecture but rather shoes? Because I
Okay.
understand what you're trying to say. Still, to me, it's very interesting because, a lot of people
Yeah.
find themselves in a situation where all of a sudden they realize that buildings might not be that exciting because, a project can take 10 years to get
Yeah.
built.
So yeah, for me, so like okay, so a computational designer like does design, but it's a different medium, right? It's
Yeah.
just that's the difference, right? So for me, once I started getting really interested in Grasshopper, I was always, I mean, I'm still interested in architecture. I like architecture. Like it's not like I'm like, I hate architecture, let's burn it down, but it's my interest shifted from architecture to scripting and like geometry and Grasshopper, stuff like that. So it didn't actually need, it could be any medium. It could be any product, whatever. Like it didn't need to be even like footwear, even though I when I went into it, I didn't know how much I would love it, but like I honestly like it's definitely the most satisfying job I've had. Like I'm super content with it. It's just an amazing product to work on, and it's just an amazing place. But despite that, the I was working in these architecture offices, and I just I just kept realizing like the work or things I'm interested in don't align with the kind of canvas of architecture, which is fine. Like that's the other thing. Like it's okay to like. I feel like a lot of people, and even myself in the beginning, were like, "Well, what do you mean I won't be an architect anymore?" But at the end of the day, like design's design.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. But the type of design you're interested in is important because in architecture. Computational design is a lot of like um, unappreciated kind of like behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff, like a lot of like optimizations, you know, um, not every offices and very few offices are Zaha, so like you don't really get so many opportunities
Yeah.
to do that. And I would say even like at a place like that, I've never worked there, so I from what I understand is like, even then it's architecture, right? So like you have about 10% of fun and 90% of documentation and headaches,
Yeah.
right? So like, and that's just the reality of it. Like the fun part is just too quick. Like the fun part in product design is quick also, but then it's like done,
Yeah.
in architecture, it's like fun, and then you still have to do this humongous amount of really hard, really like monotonous, really like robotic work, um, and I was just like, it just wasn't for me, and it's not like to knock it because like people like it, and that's awesome. Like, and people do like really amazing, innovative stuff in that
Man,
space.
I'm 100% with you. And I would also go as far as to say, and this is my personal opinion, that a lot of the innovation that goes into architecture is just to support um, an element of political conversation as to show the client, look, we have done all this optimization and all this design research, when actually there isn't really that much innovation in mainstream architecture. When actually in things like product design, companies like yours, like Nike, they strive on innovation and they really try to pursue it actively. And
Yeah.
so I can relate a lot to what you're saying, and I think that's also one of the reasons why I have so many conversations with young designers asking me, look, I am bored out of my ass. What am I supposed to do now with this degree in architecture?
Yeah. So, yeah. So to I guess the kind of important thing there is that like it's I would say it's hard. It might be harder if you're just an architect to like transition, and that's just like the reality.
Yeah.
But when you're in a specialty role like computational design, or Viz, like
Yeah.
well, not specialty, like but like more niche, that can be applied to many
Yes.
things. Like, and that's why it's so important to always learn new skills and software
Yes.
and to be valuable. Because like if I was just an architect, they wouldn't need me at like if that's all I knew, they wouldn't need me there.
For
Although
sure.
they do have an architecture department, but you get my point. Like
Yeah, of course.
the reason I'm there is because I know this very transferable skill.
Yes.
And that skill is, I would say, more valued at product companies than architecture, and treated as a higher level skill. Whereas from my experience in architecture, even though you have these very special skills, you're kind of still at the same line as people that don't have those skills. So there's a big difference there. And you see it all over. I mean, look at all the SciArc students that are going to like VFX and film.
Yeah.
And you know, like you can go to VFX, you can go to film, you can go to product design, automobile design. Like there's so many places you can go to as long as you build up skills that are transferable, you know. And I would say like my move there was so seamless. Like, I mean, I didn't have to beside like specifics of the product. Like I didn't have to struggle to learn a new thing. It was just a new canvas, right?
Yeah.
It was like, which is a canvas I personally found more interesting than what I was doing before. So I was thinking about it for a while. Like I was just like, you know, like when you're sitting there and you're like coding this plugin, you're doing all this crazy workshops, you're doing all this cool like computational geometry, and then you have to go in 9 to 5 and like position bathrooms. It's kind of like you know, and it's the reality of it. No matter how good a design you are, at some point you're putting bathrooms, you're like stuff like that, right? And so for me, I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was thinking about that like for a while, and then like it just so happened that like Nike reached out to me, and as soon as like that happened, I went like I just went for it, and it was like you know, I think like the first like person that I saw that happen to in me in terms of the people I follow their work was actually Arturo when he went and started working with Adidas.
Yeah.
So and when that happened, that was one of the first time, because you know, in architecture and architecture school, everyone makes like, they do a lot of installations, furniture, stuff like that. But career-wise, that was the first time where I saw someone who was primarily known for like parametric architecture make that jump. And I think it made me realize like it's definitely possible. Even though I wasn't trying to do it, like it just made me realize like you can do other things.
Yes.
And it's not, and for me, it wasn't a fluke. Like, you know, like Pavlina is here also at Nike from architecture. There's so many architects at Nike, but architects that, except for in architecture department, that had like special like skills. I mean, even Tinker was an architect at some point.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Now, let's specify. Pavlina is probably just as talented as you as a computational designer.
Yeah, I mean, she's you know, she's more in like the polygonal modeling than the coding. It's just a different branch, and it got her to where she wanted to be.
Yeah.
So we're not like in the same team or position. It got her to where she wanted to go. Like there's so many offshoots of these skills, you know. So yeah, like for me, it's just like the important thing is just to mention, like, just to really solidify, like, don't like complain like, oh, I can't get that job, I can't do that. Like just level up your skill set geared like towards your interests, but also towards like, get interests, get skills that are useful like in other places. Like, I would, yeah, I don't know what else to
I don't
say
know,
about that. But
like, I totally understand what you're saying, and I have to say, I think this is something that you personally have installed inside of you probably since you were a child, because like at your wedding I had the chance to meet your brother, and I could really feel, even from the small conversations that I had with your brother, that there is some sort of like, I don't know, maybe it's the way you got educated by your parents growing up, that there is that attitude towards work. I mean, your brother went from being a soldier to work in the field of VFX, learning
yeah,
stuff on his own.
yeah,
Am I correct?
yeah. So he went from see he went to like a video game college for like a year. Then he joined the Air Force for years. I don't know exactly how many, but he was in the Air Force for a while. He was stationed in Qatar and stuff like that. He was doing military stuff, and then he went, and then he actually came to our design morphine workshop to get like a quick catch up on like because he didn't know any of this stuff
Yeah.
before our we had this like 8 day workshop in Bulgaria, and he learned their Maya and ZBrush in those 8 days, and a bit of Grasshopper. That's actually also where I met Eric and Vamsi and Nicholas. They were students of that workshop as well. He took those skills. He made like a portfolio, got into one of the best VFX schools in the US. Went through that, and now he's working on like movies. I mean, can't say what
Yeah.
again, like NDAs, but yeah, and yeah. So it's just like he wanted something, and he just like did the appropriate steps to get there, rather than like again, this all sounds simpler than it is. Like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, all you have to do is like
Yeah.
learn
No, I
Grasshopper and you'll
know,
be
and I get it.
because I don't want to like tell people that, because it's like I truly do appreciate like the luck of the draw as well. Like, there are circumstances, it's like the right person looking at the right thing, but it also says it's like just not impossible. Like just
Dude, let's just remind people from home. I mean, your journey is a journey that lasted what, 15 years since you started studying until today that
yeah,
we're having this conversation. And so, like, it's very important for people watching from home to understand that there has been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this.
yeah. I mean,
right?
it's probably 15 something years. I mean, since 2006 when I started college. A lot of like ups, downs, a lot of failures, a lot of different interests that ended nowhere. So it is a lot of like trial and error and just putting yourself out there, and eventually you end up in these places based on your interests.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying specifically to get like to a place. I mean, I guess if you wanted to get specifically to a place, like that's also an amazing goal, but just like do the right steps to get there, instead of saying like I guess you just like shouldn't feel like sorry about yourself or down on yourself, like because you don't get your dream job overnight. Like if that's what you want,
Yeah.
like just work, and it's not going to happen in a year or 2 years. It's going to be many years, and until you can become a specialist or in your field. And it just takes a lot of dedication, a lot of trial and error, a lot of putting yourself out there. It's just a lot of work, but but if it's work that you enjoy, like it should get you where you should be, even if it's not where you know you want to be yet. Like you'll end up somewhere that will be satisfying to you. But like you just have to make the steps. And I didn't realize this even until we started doing the workshops. And because I used to always see these workshops too, and I'd be like, what do I need that for? Like, but like having that mentality, like, like if you see the workshop, I mean, not now because of coronavirus, but like if you see a workshop on the other end of the world and that's your interest, right? Don't let any just try your best to get there instead of making like excuses or
Yeah.
I mean it's not always possible. Everyone's financial situations and time situations are different, but like you just have to try your like you just have to try to your best to get there. Like those are always the people that go further. It's like just do whatever you can
Let me
to
add
get
something
the
to
goals.
what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had conversations in the very beginning when we launched 3D Dreaming, talking to students that did not have money to come to the workshops, right?
Yeah.
And then, these people will keep in touch with me, and then they will go on a freaking, America tour for the summer because they were done studying, and it's like I see you going shopping into motherfucking Broadway, and you're
Yeah.
telling me that you don't have money to go to a workshop. It's like how you manage your priorities, right?
Yeah.
If that's what you want, then I'm sorry, you also have to make choices which will have a financial impact in your life. And again,
Yeah.
it goes back to the conversation that we were having before, about elevating yourself and doing work without having necessarily any monetary retribution out of it. It's just because it adds value to your
Yeah.
persona.
I mean, even if you don't learn anything, the network is important,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
man, absolutely. Like I
our
build.
whole field, our whole field is people getting their friends to higher positions. Like
Yes,
that's our entire
yes,
field.
yes. You're totally
Uh,
right. I
if you
say
can be
that with
you
no
can be the
shame.
best, yeah, you can be the best designer in the world, but if no one knows about you, it's just like it's just like when you see art in a museum and you're like, oh, I could have did that, right? But you didn't do that, and this person did,
Yeah,
and they had a really good friend, and they had a network, and that's how it works, right? Like you if anything, like you just do it for the network. Like I just think about everyone I know in my field that's relevant is like they went to like the good school, or they went to a lot of workshops, or they're always at the conferences. Like it's like none of them are like just kind of hidden in their basements doing this amazing like work, but no one can see it, or no one knows of them. Like people aren't going to knock on your door to give you an opportunity.
yeah.
So,
No, you're totally right. I have no shame in saying that the only reason why I was able to build the D2 conference, and maybe some of the people listening don't know what the D2 conference is, because I'm assuming that a lot of viewers will come from your contacts and not from mine. It was because I had the connections, because over the years I've hired people to do work in architectural visualization. I gave the opportunity to people to, I don't know, show something on our social media channels,
mhm.
because 3D Dreaming, let's not forget that like 6-7 years back, it was one of the biggest networks for anything computational related.
Yeah, yeah, because it was one of the first, like it was one of the first popular Facebook pages about this stuff, and it
Yes,
was even before Instagram really even existed yet.
yes,
So, um, but even if you can't get to like a place, right, like Instagram, right, like social media is also networking. Like So if you can't get to a place, you can't go to these places, like at least put your work there.
Yeah.
You know, like you just have to have people see it. Like my every you know all of my opportunities were because of honestly, like, because I personally don't go to like a lot of conferences and workshops that I'm not like involved with. So I guess it's a bit hypocritical, but I just see like how good it is for like all the students and like the tutors and like all the opportunities they get almost immediately after these things.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it's always been like Facebook and Instagram. I would say I can like honestly say every job that I've gotten and every opportunity that I've gotten outside of, after college was through that, right? Like I got connected with you because of stuff I was posting on Facebook. I got invited to teach AA Paris because Jorge saw my stuff on Facebook. Um, you know, I met Pavlina because stuff, she saw on Facebook and then went teach there. I got to Nike because of stuff on Instagram. Like you just put it there. Like I've not gotten any opportunity any other way than just like putting myself out there.
Yeah.
So I can honestly say that.
Mike, listen, we've been talking for an hour. There is a question that I'm dying to ask you. Do you consider yourself a sneakerhead?
I'm definitely becoming one.
What's the pair of shoes that you cherish the most that you have? Go get it. Show it to me.
That I cherish the most? Probably the
Do you have it with you?
Yeah, I can go grab it.
Go grab it. I want to see.
Yeah, it's the Kobe's, the most recent ones, the all ghost ones.
I have mine here.
Which one? Oh, you're gonna show me after?
Yeah. Just go get yours.
All right. Hey, so this one here. Do you know this one?
Yeah. That's the one of the latest Kobe's, actually.
Yeah, I mean it's the last one, except for they just put out like I think it was like a tribute one.
The low one.
But this one, yeah. So this is
you lace
Kobe
it by pulling the string, right?
Yeah, you just pull this thing here.
Yeah.
You hear it?
Yeah.
And it tightens, and then you pull. You see here it says eject.
Yes.
Yeah, and you just pull this, and it loosens it up. And I haven't worn these yet because I like them so much. There's still the stuffing in there. Because they're just so clean, like they're ghosts. They're like, oh, I know if I wear this outside, it's gonna be brown in like 2 seconds, and I'll be super pissed off. Yeah, it's got multiple layers, and I just
hold
something
it
about
a
this
little bit further away from the camera. Yeah, that's a beautiful shoe, man. That's what, like, retail $200?
I think something like that. Yeah.
I don't think you can find it anymore, though. Huh?
You can't because once Kobe's accident happened, kind of like, unfortunately, people were like overpriced selling them, and they all sold out. And because of that, Nike took them all off the website.
Yeah.
I don't think they're back on the website.
What a tragedy, man.
Yeah, I have two of them. I have this one, and I have the other colorway. Have you seen the other one, the pink and green?
Okay, I thought that the other colorway was like black.
No, there's another one. I'll get it real quick.
All right.
I'll get it for you. This is it. This is the other one.
All right. Okay, yes.
So this one I do wear because it has a dark bottom, so it doesn't really get dirty so easily. Super comfortable shoe.
Were you involved in the production of this shoe?
No, nothing I've been involved with has come out yet.
Okay.
So don't worry, I'll let you know.
All right, so I'll show you the shoe that I cherish the most.
Nice. Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, this is the Jordan 9. I
Yeah.
was just starting to play basketball as a kid when this shoe came out, and
Yeah.
it was like the equivalent of like $200 back then. I did not have that money, and I
Yeah.
remember going almost every afternoon to the shop just to look at these shoes because I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, and I
Oh yeah,
could
no, for
not
sure. Oh yeah, for sure. As a kid, I didn't have like expensive Nikes, so it's kind of like yeah. Now I have a bit more like access, so like I just it's nice to like I have more of appreciation for them
yeah.
because I wasn't wearing them so much before, but like now I just see like God, how long the shoes last. I mean,
Yeah.
it really lasts quite a long time. So um, yeah, it's a it's a nice product and just nice to look at too. You know, when you have some shoes you don't want to wear. Do you wear those?
I do. I beat the
Yeah,
hell out of them. Actually,
yeah,
I'm the kind of guy that likes to use what I buy,
yeah.
And so I
Well, I do
bought.
too, but for instance, like that shoe, like it's expensive, but you could find it again, right? Like it's, but there's some shoes like this Kobe, like if I ruin it, it's probably gonna be annoying to find it again.
Yeah.
Especially for someone that doesn't like if someone like else who doesn't work there, like I can imagine like it's just like it's gonna be really hard to find it again. But like shoes like that Jordan or like the Air Force One, like these are shoes that are like always going to be around, you know.
Like I regret a little bit putting on my I got some Travis Scott, the Jordan one.
The green and orange, is
No,
that
no, no. The that's the Jordan one, the brown one with the swoosh backward.
oh the backward, yes.
And
Okay,
I
yeah.
paid a lot of money for that one because I bought it like
Hmm.
you don't get those on a raffle. It's impossible. And so
Oh
I
yeah.
had to buy like what do you call it? Like when people sell them online. It's not retail. It's
Oh the yeah, I forget what it's
but you
called.
know what I
But
mean.
yeah,
Like you buy them
yeah.
on these websites that allow you,
Like
to.
StockX or
Yes,
something like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I bought it. I,
Inflated
I
price.
spent a lot of money. I'm not gonna tell you how much I spent, but I spent a lot of money. And I was like, I'm gonna wear this shoe and be proud of it. And it's, like I live in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, the streets are like dusty and there is the sand from the sea, and so they're dirty. And I spilled peanut butter on them as well. But you know what?
How,
No
what are you
regrets,
doing?
man.
Peanut butter near your shoe.
No
How do you
regrets.
how do you even spill peanut butter? It's so
Okay, so I'll
sticky.
tell you how I did it. I was basically making a smoothie for my wife, and so
Mhm.
I microwaved the peanut butter to have it liquid. And so I did not
Yeah,
realize that the
yeah.
jar of the peanut butter it's made of plastic, and so I made a hole because I was microwaving it for too long, and so the peanut butter just dripped off the jar. So I had to throw away the peanut butter because I melted the jar.
you
I made a
still
mess.
have those. You still have those adapts I gave you there.
Yes, I do. I love them.
Nice.
That's the thing. Like, I think that those shoes are worth a lot more. The Adapt.
Mm,
I love them. They're like,
yeah,
it's so weird. People stop me in the street to take pictures of those shoes.
yeah, yeah. Because it's like I would say the newer adapts are more popular than those ones.
Yeah,
Those were like such a limited.
yeah,
At the time, the technology was. So you look about like the retail on that was like 750
yeah,
USD, not even inflated. Like
yeah,
from Nike, it was 750
yeah,
USD. Like the new adapts, they're like 300. You know, so
yeah.
like they're
They're more
you can
affordable.
yeah. But the newer ones are like way more technical and way more advanced and like. Um, but as technology gets better, price also goes down.
Yeah.
Things get smaller and for that. So
No,
yeah.
I love them all, man. I'm just looking forward to move because we're gonna move soon. We're gonna go away from Tel Aviv, and in the next place that we're gonna go, I'm gonna build a little like temple for all my shoes because I'm sitting on like 30, maybe 40 pair of shoes. Like
Yeah.
this is one of those aspects of my social media that I don't share because I fear that people might think that I'm a serial murderer or something.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't have that many. I mean, I try to control myself because it's hard. It's easy to get out of control
That's the problem.
working here. Like, so I try to control myself. Yeah.
Mike, listen, we've been talking for more than an hour. You've been very
Yeah.
generous with your time. I want to thank you really on behalf of the community, and I want to thank everybody watching this video from home. I really hope that they found some words of inspiration. And, you know, like, I want to tell anyone watching, try to get in touch with Mike because, you know, we made some crazy magic happen together in the past just because of the fact that you were so, you know, open to have a conversation with anybody. And you're a seriously funny dude also, although I don't think that this conversation might show. But yeah, we've had some good laughs together.
It's got to be the right setting.
Yeah. Dude, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time. And don't go anywhere. I'm going to stop the recording so that I can say goodbye one more time.
I'll just close with like final thought is like just get your stuff out there and let people hate it and let them love it, and who cares, just get it out there. And you can also follow me on Instagram and hate my stuff if you want. I don't know, maybe Fabio will put a link somewhere in his video or something.
For sure. Your Instagram has been open the whole time out here, so.
Yeah, and just keep in touch. If you have any questions, anyone, feel free to message.
Dude, as soon as this corona shit is over, I'm gonna try to do my best and come and see you guys out there in the US.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Dude, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna stop the recording. Thanks a lot for talking to me. This was a blast.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. See ya.
Bye.